Yeah.
And not just that, but I can see video cameras and everything else. I have made a good talk, haven't I? Okay, let me just give you a moment to log on here, and I'll be with you in just a second. And by the way, have you made any progress on the conference? I mean, your individual groups?
Yeah.
You okay? Because what I want to do, so you may have to think about it now, what I want to do is have a progress report feedback session at the end of this lecture. So, those of you who have different groups to do different things in, and you are planning out what you're planning to do, you need now to have a kind of recapitulation and see where we're up to. Okay.
Person to do it. Yes. I don't know. Unless we know what the thing is about. We can't get it as soon as okay. But also, when everyone's got their proposal.
One of the things which people have been asking me, which I need to clarify for you, is what is the nature of the work that we do here in comparison to the work that you do for your project. You know, your project starts at the beginning of June. You know, that kind of time. So the project's that you've got the summer to do the project. And here, we're doing a kind of lead up to it. And people have asked, do you have to have the project properly sorted out here and now before June? Or can you change your mind when you get to June? And the answer is this, that in reality, you're going to be assessed by this unit quite separately from the project. They are two separate units. 20 credit unit for this, 60 credit unit for the other one. And they're two separate things. And they can be done independently of the other. They can be done in such a way that you do something for this, which is quite different to something for your project. You can write up a whole area on one area which you feel interested in and then have something completely different for your project. That's entirely possible. Okay. But what we're saying here is that the whole purpose of this unit is to help you with your project, if possible. So it's a recommendation. It's no stronger than that. It's a recommendation to you that if you can choose your project early on, about now, then when you do all your work for the write-up, the background reading, the literature review, writing your paper, presenting it, that will stand you in good stead for the project itself. Okay. It's not essential that they're the same, but if they are the same, you will benefit from it because you will find that you will know a whole range of things which will get you started on your project straight away like that. You've already worked on it. But what I want to emphasize to you is this. If you get to the point whereby you do a whole pile of work for this unit, and then, come June, you say to yourself, actually, I don't want to do that in my project anymore. Is that all right? The answer is yes, it is all right. It is all right. You can do something different with your project if you don't like what you're doing now. There's always the opportunity to change. So whatever you're doing is not fixed in stone for your project. Don't worry about that. It's going to help you, though, if you're able to put the two together. But it's an option. It's a recommendation. You can think of them separately if you want to, or you can think of them as joined together. You can do something different to the project than this, or you can work them so they're the same. Does that make sense? Is that okay? So you all see where we're coming from. Right. That's good. Now, glasses. I got my glasses. Don't move around. Now the reason I told you all that was very important because when I got here, research methods 2, I've got it titled on our schedule as proposing the project. And I put it that way quite deliberately to try to give you the idea that these two things can fit together. But in reality, you're proposing the paper for the project, which may be your project if you want to connect them together. But if it's not, then you don't have to connect them together. So, and we're going to use all the project proposal forms that we use for the real project for this, so that it becomes a kind of seamless progression. You use the same paperwork. Don't forget, you can still change your mind later if you want to. Any questions so far? Right, I want to tell you what makes a successful project. And what makes a successful person. And what makes a successful unit here. I'm going to give you some advice on that first. What makes a successful project? What makes a successful paper? What makes a successful conference? First of all, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you the marshmallow story. Quite some time ago, a bunch of researchers decided that they would try to answer the question, what makes people successful? And they set up this experiment. Interesting experiment. What they did was they had a bunch of kids which they brought along. And these were kids who were 7, 8, 9 years old. That's all. And they had about 100 of them. And they had them all waiting, and they brought them in, one at a time, into this room. There was nothing in the room except a table and a chair. And if you look very carefully, you'll see a video camera up in the corner as well, but the kids didn't notice that. And they sat the kid down in front of the table, and there were on the table in the middle was a plate. And on the plate, all there was a single marshmallow. It said to the kid. The kid looked at the marshmallow. Marshmallow looked at the kid. Kids like marshmallows. And they said to the kid, that marshmallow is yours. Oh, great. But, they're about to pick it up and eat it, but they said, if you can just sit here and not eat the marshmallow for 15 minutes, we'll give you 2 marshmallows. Then they went out of the room and left them on their own for 15 minutes. Sat them. Kid looks at the marshmallow looks back. There's sort of a synergy here going on. The kid picks up the marshmallow. They're watching them from the video cameras. They see everything that goes on. You see the kids picking it up, smell it, put it back in. Tempted by the marshmallow. Pick it up, lick it, put it back in. Some of them last no more than 30 seconds and the marshmallow, gone. Some of them hold out longer, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 50. Some people last 14 minutes and 30 seconds, and then they can't hold on to eat the marshmallow and gone, it's gone. And some of them manage to not eat the marshmallow at all after that time, and they get the second one. Okay. What did they find out? They found out this. They found out that 2/3 of all those kids ate the marshmallow. 1/3 was able to not eat the marshmallow. Only 1/3 of them did that. 2/3 ate it within the 15 minutes, 1/3 held out. Now, wind on the experiment 25 years. This is what's called a longitudinal experiment. It's a real experiment. It really took place, and they did wait 25 years. And they brought these kids back in, of course, now sort of in their 20s and 30s. And they said to them, right, can you answer some questions for us? What's your salary? What kind of job have you got? What kind of satisfaction do you have in life? You know, are you married? Do you have good relationships with people? You know, they asked them a whole range of questions to find out how happy, content, successful they were, what kind of salaries they had, what kind of jobs they had, and they found out this interesting fact. They found out that those kids, the 1/3 of them which managed to hold out and not eat the marshmallow, had a very, very clear distinction from those kids that gave in and actually ate the marshmallow. They found that the 1/3 had the better jobs, the higher salaries, more promotion, the better family life, more happy relationships, and they were just totally much more successful than the others who did not hold out. They found a very, very clear link. Okay, here's the question for you. What conclusion do you draw from that? What do you make of that? Any explanations that occur to you?
Bird in the hand, but without fog in the bush.
That's a good summary, yeah?
It's a study on delay of gratification.
What was that about gratification?
Delay of gratification.
Yes, delayed gratification. Oh, I've heard that thing, delayed gratification. Okay. What's the implications of delayed gratification for you?
Delay of gratification meaning someone is able to control their wants and needs for a certain period, a longer period of time, to be able to gain more.
Achieve a long-term goal.
Rather than, I want it now. That concept.
Okay. Does everyone understand that? The idea of delayed gratification. The idea of what's required for that is self-control. Willpower, maybe. Okay. No pain, no. You actually get to have this. It's quite painful to sit there looking at this marshmallow, wanting to eat it, and yet.
Yeah, that'll take me that if you've got a sweet tooth, you're not going to do as well.
It could be that, but they didn't draw that conclusion. The conclusion they drew was it was really an experiment about self-control. Okay, it was can you delay gratification for a longer-term goal, and does that kind of personality trait reflect on you for later life? This is a story I tell all the undergraduates who first come into year one, because they have to do work at the university, they have to do projects, they have to do assignments, rather like you. And there's a whole range of distractions for them. You know, what they have to do is, there's a massive social life out there, there's a huge range of activities they can be involved in, and they can either sit down and do the assignment, or they can go out and enjoy themselves. And what we find is that those people who are the most successful students, those who get the highest quality degrees, and those master's students who get the distinctions of the best quality work, are those who are able to exercise the control that they need in order to put this kind of work first. Okay? And when you're talking about research methods, you're talking about an area which requires more discipline, more self-control, more self-organisation than any other area, because you have to generate your own interests, you have to generate your own plan to organise yourself, you have to generate all the kinds of things which enable you to keep a firm grip on things, not to get drifting off to different other things to try to distract you, and to keep everything firmly under your control. Have an organised plan in order to do that. So research methods, more than anything else, requires you to have firm control, self-control, and discipline that kind of balance. So I tell you that story because I think that this is an issue not just about research methods. I think it's an issue also about life and about your approach to life and approach to the things that you do. And one of the things I want to try to get over to you is that this course and this unit is not really just about how you do dry, dull research methods. It's about how you approach different things in your life. You cannot suddenly switch from being research-minded in this class to being non-research minded outside of the class. It's a way of thinking. It's an approach. It's a way that says, I'm not going to let stuff get by me, which is not good enough. I'm not going to accept crap arguments, rubbish explanations. I'm not going to allow that to filter through to me. I'm not going to allow hearsay, comments, gossip, all that kind of stuff, which is just ideas which are thrown around. I'm not going to allow that to penetrate me and influence me and affect me, because I'm going to demand evidence. I'm going to require people to account for their arguments, and I'm only going to listen to sound and solid stuff. And when, for example, I ask you to read research papers, when I ask you to look at other people's work, I'm going to expect you to have exactly that same disciplined approach. You are not to be just people here in this group who have an opinion. That's not going to be good enough for me. I want you to have an informed opinion. And I want you to understand the difference between having an opinion and having an informed opinion. You have to be able to have an evidence for what you believe, reasons for what you say, and a sound method for your approach to things. And only when you gain that throughout your entire approach to things around you, will you be able to apply it properly to this particular unit as well. Does that make sense? You with me? Good. Okay. I want to focus now upon what I'm going to expect you to do for your unit. And it's the first thing you're going to have to deliver to me. What is it? You're going to have to deliver what's called a project proposal. It's really just a proposal as to what you plan to do for this unit. Now, you know when you're an undergraduate, when you do a degree, they come along and they tell you what you're going to do. They're going to tell you what you're going to learn. They're going to tell you what you are assessed and how you're assessed. But here, you are above that. Here, you are master's students. Here, you have professional abilities that you're going to bring to play. And we're going to use those. And we're going to depend upon you to set your own subject that you're going to research. So you need to find a subject area that you're going to be working on, and you set that. You can discuss that with other people. Please do. Don't just do it off the top of your head. Discuss it with as many people as you can. Choose a subject area. And then, on top of that, you are going to assess it amongst ourselves. We're going to use peer assessment. So each of you, in turn, will produce your own proposal for what you plan to study, what you plan to write a paper on, what you plan to present at a conference. And then, when you have written that proposal up, you are going to then assess each other's and give it a mark. So we are involved in peer assessment. And the reason why we're doing that is not only because you can do it, because you are master's level students, but because it's part and parcel of the whole academic approach of research. The whole basis of research is the basis of peer review. I mentioned peer review to you. Peer, meaning everyone's on the same level. We're all masters level. We're all at the same level. We can judge each other's work with discernment and capability, and we're going to use your judging facilities, your critical faculties, to assess each other as well using peer assessment. Does that make sense? All right. Anyone feel daunted?